Thank you as always to those of you who are supporting the channel on Patreon, including the big patrons of the month, the Nerd Therapist, and Jack the Loudred. Thank you. Hey Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here, and Dynamaxing. How are we feeling about Dynamaxing? Please let me know in the comments. Do you prefer it to Mega Evolution? Do you prefer it to Z moves? I think I prefer Mega Evolution. I think I prefer Dynamaxing to Z moves. And while it is, I guess significantly, it feels kind of dumb. Like, oh, let's just take a Pokemon and size it up. I also really think it's kind of cool. I don't know why. There's something fun about seeing a Grookey that's like supersized. And it does fit in with the lore of the Pokemon world. As I've mentioned before, we have a whole video about Dynamaxing appearing previously, so I got that all covered. But today I have a top 10 list because there are some Pokemon that, you know, while seeing a giant Grookey is really, really cool, seeing every Pokemon really, really big, that's gonna cause some problems. I have on this list 10 Pokemon that if they Dynamaxed would be more than a little destructive. These are the 10 that I think will be the most deadly. Of course, I do want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which ones would you pick? Also, if you're pretty new to the channel, you maybe been seeing my videos around, hi, hello, welcome, and feel free to hit subscribe if you want to hang out more regularly. I'm uploading multiple times a week, usually 2 a week, but seems to have been a bit more lately. And let's get on with number 1. Well, actually, no. Let's get on with a little disclaimer here, because one thing we're going to establish with all of these Pokemon before we get into the list is just how big are these Pokemon getting. I took an image of the trainer from Sword and Shield standing across from Milo with their Dynamaxed Pokemon and the Dynamaxed Grookey. And we don't have an official height for the trainer. We actually don't have an official height for any of the trainers, really. There is a rough estimate, and about 5 foot is the average for trainers across Pokemon. So I wanted to do a complete rough estimate here, and say that if a regular Grookey is 1 foot tall, and the trainer is on average 5 feet tall, I can use little blocks and use this side-on image to work out that the Dynamaxed Pokemon, regardless of whether it's 1 foot like Grookey or much, much taller like Gyarados, all roughly end up scaling up to about 65 feet tall. So it's not like a Dynamaxed Gyarados is bigger than a Dynamaxed Grookey. They're the same size when Dynamaxed, and it's roughly 65 feet high based on this calculation. Now, you might be able to work out that actually it's taller, maybe it's a bit smaller. Either way, it's pretty huge, and that's the rough calculation, the approximation that I'm using for this video. So with that being said, let's get on number 10. At number 10, the first thing on this list is a little bit of a tie. It's not an apparent one that you would immediately think, oh yeah, that would be pretty deadly. And that is either Wishy-Washy or Zygarde. And when I'm talking about these Pokemon, I'm talking about them in their most complete forms. Because while in battle, they are in much smaller forms, maybe 10% or 50% Zygarde, or a single lone Wishy-Washy. And that on its own, Dynamax isn't a problem. However, when its ability triggers, which allows it to call in all of the Zygarde cells or the Wishy-Washy from across the world, do they Dynamax wherever they are? How exactly destructive is that? I mean, how many lakes and rivers are torn up because Wishy-Washy, someone somewhere goes, Dynamax on Wishy-Washy, and then suddenly this school of flying giant fish just bounce into the arena? Or Zygarde, the protector of the ecosystem, calling in its cells from across the world, only its cells are giant. I'm just saying that while Zygarde is supposed to be the guardian of order in the ecosystem, it would not help if it was Dynamaxed. Number 9 is an interesting one, Palossand. It's a giant creepy ghost sandcastle, okay, but if you made it 65 foot tall, first of all, any wind around it is going to just start generating sandstorms on the regular. But on top of that, depending on how fast it can move across sandbanks, it could just like move in and like swallow people up. Either that, or people might believe it is an actual castle and decide to go on an expedition. The problem is, according to Sandygast's Pokedex entry, it takes control of anyone who puts its hand in its mouth and then adds them to its body. Sandygast would devour people and trap their souls within its castle walls. A still Sandygast left alone for so long Dynamaxed? Yeah, people might believe that's a real castle and go a-wandering and never return. Number 8, we've got kind of a mix here between Steelix, Alolan Golem, Rotom, or Magnezone. These Pokemon generally deal with magnetic energy, massive all-scale electrical interference. Like, you Dynamax a Rotom in the middle of the gym, everyone taking pictures on their phone, yeah, that's going off. In fact, all of the lights in the stadium probably just gonna be like completely blown out. Any computers, if the internet's running, and everyone knows that if the internet goes down, we're all doomed. I don't know, you get something like Magnezone and it has a big magnetic pull and there's a plane flying overhead. Goodbye, plane! Magnetic Pokemon will be very destructive, and if you don't think that Steelix is magnetic, that's how it floats. It has an electromagnetic field that is generated by the minerals within its body. Wait, we've already seen a Dynamax Steelix. Oh no. Number 7, getting on to something a little bit more serious here, we're going for Ultra Necrozma. I mean, Ultra Necrozma is literally a being of pure light. I don't even know how you can look at it within the world of Ultra Megalopolis. I guess you got those visors that the Ultra Recon Squad has, but come on, if you make that thing 60 feet tall, Ultra Megalopolis was actually, it was pretty empty. It was pretty empty as a place, and everyone was prepared with those visors. But if you're in the middle of a gym stadium and you Dynamax up your Necrozma, and it's an Ultra Necrozma, then prepare to blind everyone in the stadium, and heck, it's probably going to be taller than the stadium, so prepare to blind anyone in the surrounding city. Ultra Necrozma would be so deadly. On top of that, doesn't light tend to generate heat? Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would just, like, burst into flames. I'm not so sure about that one. Although a similar idea has happened with number 6, Macargo. Okay, you all saw the Vsauce video. Yeah, Macargo is as hot as the sun. And then some of you saw Lockstin's video. Well, actually, no, it's only that hot within certain parameters. And actually, it wouldn't burn people like Vsauce says it would. Okay, sure, that's all very well and good. And don't get me wrong, touching a Macargo, like, you have people who can literally stand on lava and, you know, as long as they're not there for too long, the heat won't transfer over that space, but Macargo is a snail. And that doesn't matter when it's small, because by the time it's moved from area A to area B, that area might be able to cool down enough that not everything is setting into flames, especially if it's living in, like, rocky mountainous areas. But you have a Macargo out in the wild that's 60 feet big, you can bet it cannot move fast enough to cover 60 foot, you know, area. Actually, I'm not sure if that's how it works. It's 60 foot tall. I don't know what the area would be. But assume, you know, that scale's the same as well. But that Macargo is going to move very slowly around the wilds. And the wilds is, you know, it's a big space, but I don't know exactly. It's just going to keep on going round and round in circles eventually. Moving so slowly that it's just going to incinerate the whole place. It's going to turn it into a desert. It is Team Plasma's dream brought to life. A Dynamax Macargo would be deadly. In the exact same vein, number 5, a Primal Groudon. Primal Groudon has the drought ability, which means that when it's out and about, the sun comes out. You're going to have a permanent summer in the Galar region here. And yeah, I mean, things are going to be hot. Things are going to be very hot. Maybe not quite as hot as a Macargo, but a giant Groudon, well, it's already one of the heaviest Pokemon. There are heavier Pokemon, like Steelix, for example, like a Mega Steelix, but again, Mega Steelix, Celesteela, these Pokemon float. Cosmoem, it's dense and it floats. Groudon is probably the heaviest that is touching the ground, that isn't like Wailord where it swims. And as it stomps around, every single stomp, it's going to be like a Godzilla movie. It's so heavy, its footprint is going to melt into the earth. A Dynamaxed Primal Groudon would flatten the Galar region in no time at all. I mean, heck, regular Primal Groudon is about 11 foot tall. It's already pretty destructive. Just imagine that, like 5 times bigger. Number 4, let's go from hot to cold, and back to one of my original videos that I did about Regice. Oh, look at the early bird keeper, Toby. Look at those early effects. I talked about Regice and how it's even more deadly than Macargo because it emits a mist of minus 358 degrees. Did I remember that right? Damn, minus 328 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're talking about a Pokemon that's 5, nearly 6 foot tall. So we're talking about scaling that up to 10, 11 times its size. A giant ice obelisk, sure, but that mist that it emanates, that area is going to get even bigger. You plonk one of those in the wilds and you're having an ice age. I don't even think Macargo would be able to get close to it. I don't know what the science of, maybe I should do a video. Dynamax Macargo versus Dynamax Regice. Who would win? So you have this giant ice cube and you're not going to be able to get directly close to it to melt it. The human body temperature is pretty comfortable, about 98 degrees Fahrenheit. You hit the 80s and you start hitting hypothermia. Unconsciousness at 84 degrees Fahrenheit, death at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And by the way, that death process is not nice. You end up in that mist cloud, all of that blood is going to rush in from your arms and legs, away from the extremities, because it wants to keep your heart going, it wants to keep your brain going. Because of that rush of blood, you're going to hit that unconsciousness. Everything on your extremities is just going to get frostbitten. All of the liquids within your body, which there are a lot of, start to freeze. And I'm just, you know, it's not a nice way to go. Regice, possibly one of the most dangerous. But number 3, and the whole reason I started doing this video, is because of the popular meme, what if you Dynamaxed an Electrode? A regular Electrode is only about, yay big? And they are known to be very explosive and very damaging, but ultimately, if you're not in the area, if you're not in the radius of explosion, then fine. You Dynamax one, and it becomes much harder to escape. And by the way, Electrode is fast. In Generation 1, I think it's the fastest electric-type Pokemon. It rolls, and it would, at that size, roll across the landscape, and wherever it decided to explode, I don't think you'd have the time to escape. What's even worse, if a trainer chucks a revive on it, or if it manages to heal itself in some way, an Electrode doesn't die when it explodes, it just faints. It would be non-stop, rolling over things very, very fast, no time to escape, and then using Explosion. So yeah, Electrode, not something we want to see Dynamaxed. The number 2 I went with is definitely not as deadly as Regice, but I wanted to do it anyway because it's adorable. I'm talking about Meltan. Look at this cute little guy, he can't be a destructive force. Oh wait, Meltan consumes metal. How much of your world is made of metal? Your cars? Planes? Roadways? Your computers? Your technology? Any level of infrastructure? Meltan at 60 foot big is going to roll across cities and eat them up. I wonder if it gets bigger. I wonder if it becomes... does it become Melmetal just by consuming other Meltan? Or just by consuming metal? I'm not 100% sure on the lore there. But yeah, I mean, if you ended up with a bunch of them together and they Dynamaxed into a giant Melmetal, I mean, that is an incredibly destructive, almost unstoppable Pokemon. But not number 1 on my list. Number 1 on my list is a Pokemon that could absolutely defeat Regice, no problem. This Pokemon, if Dynamaxed, would be the end of our world. I didn't even think this was going to be like number 1. I thought this would be like number 5 or something. But number 1 is a Dynamaxed Weezing. At 60 to 65 foot high, a Weezing, emitting the kind of pollution that it does, would just be devastating to the planet. I mean, it would heat up the ozone layer, Regice would melt, no problem. I mean, you're scaling one up from like 3 foot tall originally to 22 times its size. It generates absolutely toxic fumes. It has like acidic, it basically causes the rain around it to become acidic. And what's on top of that, it eats up all of our trash, all of our plastics in the ocean, all that kind of stuff. Eats it up, converts it into greenhouse gases, heats up the planet. Wait, are we still talking about Pokemon? Yeah, we might be wanting to stop the figurative Dynamax Weezing that already exists soon. Let's work on that. That being said, Dynamax Weezing, absolutely the most destructive force that could possibly exist, far more than Makago or Regice. That, of course, though, is just my opinion, and those are the top 10 Pokemon that I think are, just if they were Dynamaxed, would end the world. You're going to have to let me know what you think, of course, in the comments, and I'm definitely going to do that Makago versus Regice video. And with that being said, soar high, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!